Namibia. Welcome back to another session here at the Government Information Center. My name is Angela Situmego, and I'll be your host for today. The topic in discussion today is the role of social media abuse in exacerbating gender-based violence. In studio today, I am joined by Deputy Commissioner Kauna Chikwambi, who is the head of the Public Relations Division at NAMPO, as well as Ms. Sophia Petia, who is the Chief Social Worker at the Ministry of Health and Social Services. Virtually, we are joined by Ms. Yanoshinga Shililifa, who is the Deputy Director, Research and Legislation at the Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. As this is an interactive session, I do implore you, as the show continues, do kindly join us on our social media and do leave any questions that you might have. Going straight into it, there is no question that gender-based violence is deeply connected to mental health. 50% of women who experience gender-based violence have been diagnosed with a serious mental illness. Women who experience violence are 3 to 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with PTSD, depression, experience suicidal ideations, and problems with substance abuse. So Ms. Kutia, if you could start us off, what is gender-based violence and how can we stop it?
Gender-based violence is also referred to as sexual gender-based violence, is any harmful act of physical, psychological, mental, emotional abuse perpetrated against a person's will. Gender-based violence also is also directed to gender, based on gender, men, women, boys, girls.
Okay, well noted. So gender-based violence comes in different forms. Of late, social media and gender-based violence has been on an increase. So if we could have Ms. Shililifa kindly explain what are some of the causes of this social media, GBV, in Namibia.
And also let me take this opportunity to thank the NBC or the Minister of Information for inviting Minister of Gender to be part of this important discussion. Yeah, what maybe I can point out at the beginning or from the onset is to say gender-based violence is a national concern. Yeah, and to this effect, there are a lot of commendable efforts to address gender-based violence in government institutions. This can be effort that is being done by the Namibian Police Force, the Judiciary, Ministry of Health and Gender Ministry. And we are also acknowledging the work done by civil society, church, and academia, especially in the area of preventions. Maybe let me coming back quickly to the root causes of gender-based violence in the country. In 2017, the Ministry of Gender, in collaboration with UNFPA, we have conducted the national GBV baseline studies to determine the extent, the scope, and the study revealed that some of the contributing factors to gender-based violence include alcohol abuse, and I believe my colleagues sitting there, they will agree with me. The issue of unemployment is regarded as a contributing factor to gender-based violence. Yeah, there are negative cultural practices that also contribute to gender-based violence, such as child marriage. And the unequal power relations is also the issue that contributes to GBV. And the safety and security around our communities and our neighborhoods. Those are some of the contributing factors that were pointed out by the study that was conducted in 2017. Thank you.
Well noted, Ms. Shililifa. So if we could go to Deputy Commissioner. The use of technology as a means of harassment and abuse has more traumatizing, insensitive, and invasive effects according to statistics. Um, they, According to statistics, the use of social media has really fueled gender-based violence in Africa. Is this really the case in Namibia?
Thank you very much, moderator. But let me start off first to acknowledge really efforts like Meme Shililifa has indicated, that indeed gender-based violence is a violent crime. And it's more traumatizing, especially if it's perpetrated against minors. There's nothing as crucial and as heartbreaking as a child that is being violated. Now, I want to start off to acknowledge efforts. Like she said, the police is doing efforts, the Ministry of Health, almost agencies, almost, are all doing efforts. But then the question remains, are these efforts really enough? I want to acknowledge what happened during the weekend. I learned of the Sanlam Men's Conference, overwhelmed by men who really attended in numbers, in order to hear what it is, what gender-based violence is, and how they can stop it. Because predominantly we know that gender-based violence is perpetrated by men. And I really want to start off by acknowledging all those efforts. But all efforts will go in vain if we don't individually have introspect, where we tend to ask ourselves that, why do I need to violate my child? Why do I need to anger my partner if you know that it's a weakness? Why do you need to consume so much alcohol that leads you to abuse or to hurt other people? So it will also have to do with you as an individual if we really want to end gender-based violence in this country.
Okay, that is...
Now, getting to your question is that knowing that Namibia is part of Africa, of course, and we know that technology is advanced and it's everywhere and everyone else is using technology. Of course, Namibia is no exception. It's a pity that some of us are using technology for progressive use, while there are those who are using technology to harm others, to humiliate others, to shame others, and to threaten others. It's really a pity. And as I have indicated, that it becomes very devastating to the victims, because then once you are posted on social media through or internet, then you have little or no control on those postings. These are digital crimes where you have private and sensitive images of loved ones that you have shared between the two of you, and now because you are angered or because you want to advance your interests, now you want to post me on social media. It's really very insensitive and very inhuman, to say the least.
Well noted. Coming back to Ms. Shililifa, health consequences of domestic, intimate partners and sexual violence, such as physical health, mental health, and behavioral health, poverty, sexual and reproductive health, are some of the causes of GBV. Does social media fuel or prevent gender-based violence in Namibia, in your opinion?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, moderator, for the questions. I think I would like to go on the response from Deputy Commissioner. Yeah, social media is really a powerful tool. Yeah, it can either prevent or fuel gender-based violence. It depends how it's being used. Yeah, people can Twitter, they can use Facebook, Instagram, and other platforms to call on end to gender-based violence. For example, we commemorate 16 days of activism, and we connect with others in the outside world, in the neighboring countries, and so using the social media. It's really a powerful tool that can help us to prevent gender-based violence. Yeah, if you remember during COVID, I think we were limited in our movement. Yeah, we were on lockdowns, and as service provider, it was really not easy for us. But the only form that we could use, especially to create awareness, was the social media. Yeah, we had a WhatsApp group where we can communicate, we share cases, And also survivors of GBVs or communities that have queries, they were using the social medias to reach out to the service providers. Yeah, meetings, we could do it via Zooms. It is really a quite powerful tools that we could use. I would also like maybe, for example, to give an example of the campaign that we launched using the social media. That is a nationalhood and national pride GBV campaign. This is a collaboration between the Ministry of Gender, MICT, and the Ministry of Youth. Yeah, the focus really is to create awareness among the youth, the age group 15 to 35. And we were using the hashtag EndGBV Namibia. It was all over social media. People were commenting, and we could make an impact. Yeah, and this some of the material again we use them using television, radio, and local newspapers, and also radio. Yeah, I can really say we can use social media to prevent gender-based violence based on the examples that I was giving. But maybe now coming back to how can the social media fuel gender-based violence? Yeah, a lot have been said by Commissioner, as I have already indicated. But I can only just add to say a lot of youth, especially Namibian youth, they are on social media, especially in the urban areas. Okay, we know in the rural area they are, but the one in urban area, they are the one mostly using the social media. And a lot of things are happening there on the social media, it's ranging from sexual harassment to public shaming, as Commissioner already indicating. And sometimes you find inappropriate images that are posted on Instagrams, Twitters, and all of those Facebooks. But in most cases, is against or without the permission of the person or any individual whose images are being posted. Child's behavior might impose, in the end, maybe physical harms, or it can lead to gender-based violence. And maybe another issue that I also want to indicate or to touch on is also on the reporting of gender-based violence incidents by the media. Yeah, there are times when there's a lot of information given, and without really taking into consideration the relatives of these the victims or the person who passed on. Yeah, I think sometimes we need also to find a balance when we are reporting cases of gender-based violence. Yeah, and also to be a bit sensitive. But the ministry tried, we as a ministry, we tried our best to build capacity or to create awareness among the media personnel, including journalists. We had those trainings in the past years, and we will continue doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have heard from Ms. Shililifa that although technology is quite advanced, do choose to use it for positive instead of using it for negative. So I would like to remind our viewers that our call-in lines are now open should you wish to take part in our conversation. Should you be following us on social media, you can join us on Facebook at the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, or you can also join us on YouTube at MICT-Namibia. Our call-in lines are 061 400 397. I repeat, our call-in line are 061 400 397. So should you have a question for any one of our panelists, or should you have a statement that you'd like to share, kindly do give us a call, or do leave a comment on any one of our social media sites. So coming back to Ms. Shililifa, what is the link between social media bullying and the gender-based violence, and do we have such GBV cases in Namibia?
Okay, thank you, moderator. I think as I have already indicated earlier, yeah, social media has become the main platform, a platform that mainly used, yeah, either to communicate messages on prevention or any other information that people would like to communicate. They use the social media most of the time. And this is also a platform where cyberbullying is taking place. Yeah, it may be added earlier, like you have nasty profile comments or any negative messages, or people can also spread rumors and the gossiping. All that they use the platform, the social media. That's WhatsApp group, audios. We have seen these things happening. Yeah, but the issue of bullying has been receiving a lot of attention, especially from government and as our stakeholders, the civil societies, and whereby we work with the Ministry of Education through the cluster of gender and the boy and the girl child, and also the cluster of media under the Ministry of MICT. We are trying to address the issue of bullying among the learners. And there are strategies that we have in place, and those strategies they are being some of the strategy including training of key service providers such as the teachers, especially the life skills teachers. We also train or sensitize the learners themselves when they are using the social media, what to look out for and how to protect themselves, and also the caregivers on the danger of GBV and also things to look out for. And another things that also we try to use or to promote is a hotline. We have a hotline 106, the one for Child Lifeline, and also there is a hotline for the Namibian Police 10111. Yeah, at least issue related to bullying or harassment, they can be communicated through the hotline, especially the one for Lifeline, where you might receive counseling. There are social workers on standby. Or what you can do as well is to reach out to the social workers in your area or also to any service providers, the law enforcement, and so on. Yeah, that is mainly what is happening. And you can really see the link is there as we've been discussing from the program. You can clearly see a link between the bullying or the social media abuse and the gender-based violence. Thank you.
That is well noted. So it is also worth noting that any form of gender-based violence can affect a person's mental health, whether physically, emotionally, or economical. These forms of abuse have a tendency of negatively affecting one's mental well-being. So Ms. Kutia, how does gender-based violence affect mental health, and how common is the gender-based violence in relation to mental health in Namibia?
There is no doubt that gender-based violence is deeply affect the mental health of survivors. Most of the, if not all of the survivors suffer from depression, anxiety, substance abuse, suicidal ideation, endless fear, and this has a very destructive impact on the person itself. As we can see here in Namibia, even most of the survivors come to receive, they are receiving treatment, they are receiving counseling, therapeutic interventions to deal with this negative impact that the violence has on their mental health. So also, that is also the very important reason when a case goes to court, the court will normally ask for a social worker's trauma impact report. And that is also to make sure the impact of that trauma on the survivor itself. And from there on, to recommend that the social worker should take care and help the survivor through this distressing period.
Okay. And in the factors that you did mention, which one would you say is more prevalent in Namibia?
The factors that I mentioned, depression is one of the first ones. Most of the survivors will approach the health facilities because most of the time, health facilities is the entry point because they don't want to go directly to the police or to other service providers. And when they come, they will complain of depression, whether it's mild depression or it's severe. So depression is the overall mental health impact on the survivor.
Okay, well, very well noted. If we could have Ms. Shililifa, are there any measures put in place to combat these social media and gender-based violence intimidations? If yes, Where should those who have been bullied take their complaints to?
Thank you. We have the National GBV Plan of Action of nine, for the period of 2019 to 2023. One of the action area in the National Gender Plan of Action, GBV Plan of Action, is on focusing on primary preventions. Yeah, this is really to look at how do we strengthen our safety nets as a country, and also how do we look after or we sensitize our community with regard to gender-based violence. Yeah, there are strategies that are in place, and some of the strategies are to intensify the GBV media campaign. We have already the National Hood and the National Pride GBV campaign, I have already alluded to earlier. And we are also to strengthen the GBV responsible institutions. These are government institutions. I talked about them earlier. The Ministry of Gender, our own Ministry of Gender. We have social workers there that are very key to providing the GBV services, and we are also responsible for awareness creation. And we have the Ministry of Health, and we have Namibian Police Force and Justice. Those are the key government institutions that we need to strengthen to be able to prevent and respond effectively to gender-based violence, and also to provide services that are required. Yeah, we have also strategies to strengthen the civil society. GBV requires a multi-sectoral approach, and when you work, you involve everyone. We have church, we have civil society or non-governmental organizations that are also working in the area of gender-based violence, specifically on the area of preventions. And then we also have the strategy to engage and to identify community networks. These are the health extension officers. We know how important they are and the role that they are playing in our communities. And we also have the GBV volunteers and the networks that is also falling under the Namibian Police Force. We are also ensure that we also have a strategy to empower them or to provide them with the right information so that they can reach out to the communities and they sensitize them on GBV. And also the issue of male engagements. That is also a strategy that we are using. Yeah, and to the beginning, Deputy Commissioner indicate or talked about the conference that was over the weekend. Yeah, the male conference. That is also part of the male engagement forums that we have as a ministry, and we are working with all the stakeholders. Those are initiatives that are very crucial, and we ensure that male are also sensitized and they understand the issue of gender-based violence, and they be able to open up and approach the key service providers and look for assistance where possible. Thank you.
Well
I think
noted.
for now.
Ms. Deputy Commissioner Shikwambi touched on how minors are one of the most affected groups when it comes to gender-based violence. So I would like to ask you, Ms. Katia, can mental health and behavioral health be regarded as a cause for GBV as well in Namibia? And do we see a lot of these cases?
Though mental health can be an effect, be affected by gender-based violence, it can also be a cause. If we look at it this way, if a person is diagnosed with a mental health disorder or mentally challenged, and the person default on his or her medication, that person can become violent, and the first persons that suffer from this violence is the immediate family members. And also, if we currently look at how many persons we have currently, state president patients that is currently being treated for very serious crimes of violence, that shows us that mental health can be a cause of violence.
Okay, well noted. And then coming back to Deputy Commissioner, how many cases were recorded in the last quarter that emanated from the use of social media? And what is your organization doing to control social media related GBV?
I don't really have statistics to qualify that social media statistics. But what I can share is that our records comprises mostly of cases that are reported by individuals, either at the police station or at the GBV office, or alternatively cases that are opened by the state. The statistics on hand, in the last quarter statistics availed to me by the substantive office from April to July 2022, we have 1,756 cases reported. But if I can go back, in the financial year of 2020 to 2021, we had 5,122 cases. 2021 to 2022, we had 5,356 cases reported. So in a nutshell, that is the statistics availed to me. Now, what we are doing as a force, the Namibian Police Force has established a cybercrime subdivision. And this is the office that is responsible to address issues of cybercrime and other related cases. It's a challenge at the moment due to lack of policies in place, national legislation. We know that a bill was drafted, it's currently with the drafters, but we really anticipate that it finishes in due course, so that then we had really legislation that can guide us in terms of investigating this type of internet and electronic equipment crimes. Now, but in the absence of the legislation, as a police force, what we have done is that we use platforms such as this one, where we educate the public on the dangers of cybercrime, and of course deterring the nation from posting and threatening and humiliating other human beings on social media. Also, what the respective office, the cybercrime unit or subdivision is doing, they are already, as through their investigation, using the existing laws that guides, for example, the Communication Act, Act 8 of 2009, and then of course they are guided by the prevention of the organized crime. So those are some of the legislation that they are currently using. Now, offenders who are, of course, those committing this type of online crimes, we have cases that are opened such as online human trafficking. You have online pornographic. There was also online child sexual abuse and exploitation. We are talking about also identity theft. And these are all type of crimes that are really happening online. As I have said, it is a challenge in the absence of the national legislation to guide us. But indeed, cases are on the court roll, where you have then, of course, perpetrators who are to be tried on the existing laws.
Going very well. So I would like to remind our viewers once again that you can leave your comments or questions on any one of our social media sites, which is on Facebook, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, as well as on our YouTube page, where you can catch us on MICT-Namibia. You can also call us directly on the number 061 400 397. The calling number is 061 400 397 should you have any questions. So coming back to Ms. Shikwambi, according to the statistics, what is the current rate of GBV, and in comparison to 3 years ago, is GB increasing or decreasing in Namibia?
Automatically, one would say that there's an increase. And I want to tap on what Ms. Shililifa has said, that when government launched the GBV campaign, as a force, we also launched or implemented an action plan, which had 4 elements: investigations, operations, training, as well as awareness. And we really went out intensively in all regions to advocate against gender-based violence. And we really want to assume that we have empowered many, so much that they start to comprehend and to comprehend their rights against violence. And as such, they were not afraid, but they rather coming out to report. And especially if you have cases that comes for a longer period, where you were afraid to come out to report, maybe it was because of coercive circumstances or you were being threatened, but with the campaigns that we as a government or as a police force has started to embark upon, we have really empowered many. And people are now reporting cases. And those reported cases, of course, escalate the number of GBV cases that our investigators has on hand. So, of course, it is increasing, but then I want to go back to say efforts that we are really putting together as a government maybe will in the future then bring down the cases of gender-based violence in this country.
Okay, so it's important to note that even though the numbers are increasing, it might be due to awareness that has now been established.
Indeed, and that is one of the areas that we have picked up that, okay, now that we're speaking more, because people are suffering in silence, you know, but the more we speak about it, that come out, do not fear, because you need to be protected and justice needs to prevail. Many are coming out. We also have people, for example, neighbors are also coming out to say, my observations are that in that particular house, that child is being molested or that child. And then as a state, we need to go there and intervene, and then if it's really there are facts or findings, then a case needs to be open and investigated. And those reporting, as I have mentioned earlier, really increases the number of gender-based violence cases in the country.
Okay, that is very good to hear. So there are also instances where individuals live in self-denial of their mental dysfunction. So Ms. Kutia, what should those around the affected people do to assist the victims? And are there organizations or toll-free numbers to call for assistance?
Yeah, first of all, those around the survivors should know that denial is not on purpose. It is a way to protect the person himself from this painful experience. So which means that at that time the person is not yet ready to talk about it. So denial has a benefit, and that is what the people around the person should know. It has that benefit that for the period that the person cannot speak about it, the person is in denial. And that shows that the person can still fight against the pain. That's what we need to know. Can still fight against the pain that we call self-preservation. So what the person can do is, in the first place, if you pick that up, make sure, find as much as possible information about the specific situation. If it's depression and the person is in denial, find out as much as you can about depression so that you understand it. And then never force a person who is in denial. If you force a person who is in denial, you can compare it like you take off a bandage from a wound that's not yet healed or started to heal. When the person starts talking, that is the starting of the healing process. And by that time, with all the information that you've gathered, you can now respond to the person. Be kind and empathetic to the person, instead of being impatient and force the person to get some help. Secondly, make sure that you know where the person can get help. So by the time that the person speaks, you can tell the person, you can get help, and that is where you can find it. Another one is also that the person will start speaking, but just mention in a sentence something that is related to the pain. What the person can do that is around that person is to respond with a question. That will encourage the person to speak more. And then also give more clarity on what the person is saying. Then denial can also be dangerous. once you picked up that this person has become suicidal, it's not more anything to leave the person in that space in denial. It is now time to take action, and that is the reason that you need to get information as much as possible of service providers that can provide the necessary service to that person. Yeah, there are service providers that can provide services to these people that is in denial. There is the social workers of Ministry of Gender, the social workers of Ministry of Health. There is Lifeline Childline, they are open for 24 hours. There is also Regain Trust, and there is Philippine Trust, and yeah, and that's where a person can get the necessary service who is in denial.
Okay, very well noted. So we do have a social media comment from Jeremiah H. Haipinge, who states that GBV is a general problem. Start from school, focus on life skills subjects, and engage in traditional leaders. He also states that we need to reconsider the Bible is role. So thank you very much for that comment, Jeremiah. And just to follow up on your question, Ms. Kutsia, we spoke about help, what organizations can the victims go to for help? So in the same vein, what organizations can the families themselves go to for help when they require counseling as well?
The very same organizations that I just mentioned
Okay.
can provide services to the families of
Okay.
those survivors.
And I also wanted to find out, do you have any comment as to what Mr. Jeremiah stated?
I agree with Mr. Jeremiah, and it comes to me, if I listen to him, what he say is, what can you put in place to stop violence? If I've listened to
Yes.
that. I strongly agree with him because, in the first place, one discipline alone cannot fight violence. If we have heard earlier from Mrs. Shililifa, she mentioned a lot of disciplines. She also mentioned community. So I strongly agree that we should get the community involved. We should raise awareness in the community, as we have heard earlier, on the impact of violence, so as to educate them that violence is not acceptable. Because at times, the way violence is manifested these days, some will ask the question, is violence accepted now in our communities? And that is the reason we need, although there is a lot of awareness raised, and still raised, there is still a lot of room for improvement. And as you say, life skills programs, and as Mr. Shililifa also mentioned, we train life skill teachers to educate learners on violence. A very important thing that I would add to what he said is, we need to train our children, learners now, to change the way they see respect, gender, and human rights. If we change it now, then we will have the benefits of it in the future when they become adults. I fully agree with him that our traditional leaders should not be left out. It is very important that, and I could hear also what Mrs. Shililisa mentioned, our traditional leaders is always involved in all the awareness raisings, the trainings that goes out, but we can improve in that. And we should ensure that we make them practically involved, to put measures in place to curb and to prevent violence in the immediate communities where they are. So I fully agree with what he said, and I think these are the things that we can bring in to stop violence. Other things that we can bring in, we have excellent laws, policies, and protocols in Namibia. That we cannot deny. Never before did we have laws like that. If we just think back, in the past we only had the Criminal and Procedure Act. Today, if we look, we have so many laws, policies and protocols to curb violence, which is just for us to implement it, especially the different disciplines, to implement it, educate our communities on it, and also to make sure that when we implement it, that we can, at the end of the day, come up with, as we always do, but we can still improve. If we have data, as we previously hear, that can help us. Data really gives us the way, the paths to follow, the programs to bring in different situations, and to prevent and curb violence. So I strongly agree with him that we need to bring in a lot of measures to curb violence.
Okay. And Ms. Jafambi, any comments from a law enforcement perspective?
Oh yes, I just want also to add to what Ms. Kutie has said, that in terms of where to go, I mean, the police is the only organization that has so many professions. We have police officers, we have social workers, so they are also there to assist victims as well as families of the victims in this regard. So they are encouraged that they can also approach the police in this regard. But then also the caller or the gentleman who commented, we really want to embrace all efforts that are geared towards the end of violence in this country, irrespective. So whatever initiative that is really brought up that is aimed at reducing crime, it must be embraced. So we really appreciate the comments that he made.
And I'd also like to also ask about the general myth that people have, that even should they witness somebody experiencing GBV, that even if they should report it to the police, for example, if the victim themselves, that if they choose not to open a case, are the state's hands bound? Is there nothing the police officers can do in this case?
I mentioned from the onset that most of the crimes that we have are crimes that are reported to us. And as such, we want to encourage that everyone is at liberty to report any form of criminality that you are witnessing or that you are even suspecting. Feel free and report such crime. You can even report anonymously or in confidence without you being revealed. And of course, the state will investigate and the state can open that case. Gender-based violence cases are really complex. Because if you know, most of the gender-based violence cases are perpetrated by people we know, people very close to us, people we love, families, that it really takes courage from anyone to go and report such. Now, if I am a child and I fear to report my father, but you as a mother or a sister know that your sister, your little baby sister is suffering, why are you hesitant to report? So we are encouraging really reporting of such cases. Let justice prevail, let perpetrators be dealt with, and perhaps it could serve as an element of deterrence to many who are really violating other people's rights.
Okay, very well noted as well. So I would still like to remind our viewers that our call-in lines are open should you wish to ask a question or just simply make a statement. Our line is 061 400 397. Our calling line is 061 400 397. Or you can also leave your comment on our social media sites, which is on Facebook, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, as well as our YouTube channel, which is at MICT Namibia. So coming back to Ms. Kotia, based on the trend or analysis or records, why don't more women report gender-based violence, in your opinion?
Women is hesitant to report violence. Number one, they are dependent, most of them are dependent on their spouse. And for that reason, it is not easy for them to report because this person provides for the family. Another reason is the influence of family. Many families will discourage a woman to report violence because of the family name, because of the perceive that that you should keep up your marriage. And that will make the women feel it's a shame to report this. Women also fear the worst when they report this GBV. They fear the worst, that while they are with the person, the perpetrator, they are still alive. But they don't know to what extent this person can go once they have reported. So there are many reasons why women do not report violence.
Oh, well noted. So we do have a comment on one of our social medias, and it says that the feminist model is grounded in the principle that intimate partner violence is the result of male oppression of women within a patriarchal system in which men are the primary perpetrators of violence and women are the primary victims. Could you kindly share your opinions on that statement?
Please repeat.
Okay. It states that the feminist model is grounded in the principles that intimate partner violence is the result of male oppression of women within the patriarchal system in which men are the primary perpetrators and women are the primary victims. Would you say that is a generalization? Now we're just focusing on just the women as being the victims, and now...
To start with, we also focus on men as survivors, definitely. It's just that gender-based violence amongst men is underreporting because there is that notion that they are strong, they shouldn't report, they should stood their ground, or they shouldn't show emotion. But if we look at the cultural norms, that many cultural norms dictate that the men should be in control, the men should be dominant, and the women should be submissive. And from that angle, men mostly take that position to abuse women, because that's the way they were brought up. That's the way they should act as a man. And it is not just a generalization. It is a fact within society. And it will take us time to educate our men. This is not the way it should be. You are equal partners within this situation. And another aspect that contributes is gender inequality. Where gender inequality comes in, and that is where men once again are the perpetrators. And we are still in the process to educate our men, and as I said earlier, if we start with our boys at a young age, it may take us time, but we might be able to win this fight. Yeah.
Ms. Kauna, any comments?
I mean, statistics has revealed that indeed gender-based violence cases are predominantly committed by men. So it's really not generalized. As Ms. Kutia has indicated, a lot of factors, how men feel, how they believe that of their masculinity, the men ego, and so on. So maybe from outside of women that, like I said in the beginning, that introspection. Why do I need to anger my partner? Okay, or I know that if I do this, my partner explodes, you know? Then you need to learn to live in harmony with one another to avoid such type of violence happening within our domains. So it's really up to an individual. If we want to end gender-based violence, individually, of course we will.
Okay, very well noted. There is also general sentiments where, like I said before, uh, men now feel that all their attention, all their support, everything is targeted towards women and they are being neglected. What advice would you give, for example, for a man going through either emotional distress? How, how should he go forth in looking for help, or what avenues could he go to first? Should he not be comfortable to come out in the open?
If he is the survivor, he is the one
Yes, he's
suffering.
the survivor.
The very same services available for women is for men. This is just a shift of mindset, and not only from the men's side, from the service providers themselves. Uh, as Deputy Commissioner said, uh, it, it is it is currently the situation that men are the majority in perpetrating. So that we cannot walk away from. But service providers should also provide the very same services to men and encourage men to come out. If we encourage men to come out and talk about their disturbing situations or situations that affect them, we will have less violence because he is now the survivor. But it can easily, the tables can easily turn that he become the perpetrator in the worst way. And yeah, I would say that they should feel comfortable to approach. And if they don't want to go to service providers, find a trustworthy friend that will give you some advice that is good, and not give you advice that will just lay you off, take you off track. Yeah.
Okay. So oh, you can join in. No, you can kindly continue.
To what Ms. Kutie has said, that men should really also make use of the available services. You know, you are a human being, and I almost want to say that before you are a man, you are a human being. We're talking about human beings, and if you feel that your rights have been violated, come out. Seek for services, seek for assistance. That's why we say, if you look at the suicide rate, majority are men. Now, we don't want our men killing themselves because of some problems are maybe minor. You just feel that you are suppressed by this woman, or your ego is, you are looked down and now you opt to go and kill yourself. That is not the solution. So there are services really available where each and every man and every human being can go to and render and seek for assistance. So suicide is not a solution. No,
Am I add to that?
Yes.
If I may add to that, many men, we don't know, they are the survivors or they are the ones that suffer. And they perpetrate by killing the spouse. It is important that men be educated, that whatever they go through or whatever happens, it shouldn't result in violence. Violence is not the solution. And if they can get that message, even if they are provoked as they see it by the spouse or the partner, there is no justification for violence. Even if the spouse is the violent one and feel that the man provokes her, there is no justification for violence. Doesn't matter what the situation is. And that is what we should educate our men as well as our women who are perpetrators.
That is very well noted. I hope everybody is taking notes and we're all learning something today. If I could ask Ms. Shililiva, do you have any final thoughts?
Thank you. I just maybe in conclusion to say we should break the culture of silence, especially really on the topic that we are discussing about. Yeah, and it's really touching also on male engagement, where we need to encourage men to come out, as we are saying now, and the statistic is really indicating that there are they are the perpetrator, most of them, on the issue of GBV. And also to be able to communicate those emotional abuse. I think that is mostly common among men, the emotional abuse and the economic abuse. And in most cases, they don't come forth to court or to seek for services. That is quite important. Male should also be able to look out for community network. At the beginning, I indicated that we have engagement forum for male and boys in our communities. They should be able to look out for those that are around them in their neighborhood and join them. Yeah, and in those forum issue of negative cultural practices, they are being talked about and discussed. Issue of power relations, that is also an issue that we need to look at. Those that can contribute to GBV, they are being discussed, and strategies and solutions are being offered, coming from their counterpart, from male. I think that is really what I can encourage them to do. And also the community out there. Let's go out and look for services. We shouldn't just sit in our community, in our homes, in our family. We can see another person is suffering. We wait until somebody is gone and we say we have seen it coming. I think let's try not to get to that point. We should look out for services, either they are being offered by government. I have already mentioned government institutions that are responsible. We have church, we have civil society lifeline, regain trust, they offer psychosocial support. Let's make use of those services. Thank you.
Ms. Shililifa, thank you very much for joining us today in today's show. Ms. Deputy Commissioner, Ms. Chupambi, Ms. Kotia, thank you very much as well for joining us in today's session. With that being said, from me, Angela Situmbeko, and our GIC production crew, we wish you a good day.